Here is the recipe that I use. It's from the Nom Nom Paleo Cookbook. I've had this cookbook forever. I would say this was my first paleo cookbook that I bought, and so this is the first bone broth recipe that I ever tried, and I decided to make it into a pressure cooker one, which there's an option right here, but I did a long time ago. I remember when I tried it just with like a old school pressure cooker, and I was like scared. So we're gonna use this lovely Instant Pot today, which I already filled with 8 cups of water. These are the seasonings that I'm using, and then these are the veggies, but I do highly suggest this book. She even has another one that just came out like maybe 2 months ago, and that one's really amazing too, but this is my like go-to bone broth recipe. You can make it in beef or chicken. So let's get started. Hello, so let's get started making this bone broth recipe. It's super easy, super simple, and like I said, we're gonna use the Instant Pot. So I already filled this up with 8 cups of water, and now what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna place these chicken feet. Yep, that's right, chicken feet. This is what's gonna give this like a gelatinous like feeling once it's all done. Chicken feet have a lot of collagen in them, so if you want this to be like a very gelatinous type of bone broth, then adding chicken feet will definitely help that, because the knuckles of the feet definitely help take care of that. And so basically, as it simmers over time, it just kind of pulls out everything. Just think about your knuckles on your fingers. That's where a lot of cartilage is at. So it's just gonna pull that all out and put it into the soup and make it like a really gelatinous type of soup. So when it hardens, it basically turns into like a gel, and then when you heat it up, it turns into a liquid. So what I do is I save some bones. So I buy organic chicken. I also try and get my chicken feet organic, which you don't have to, but I do try to do whatever I can to get like a free-range chicken. So I get free-range chicken feet from my local market, which is Roots here in Temecula. And I also have some meat that, or I'm sorry, some bones from chicken that I've bought. So I usually buy a big old thing of organic chicken, and then I'll cook it and make it roast out of it, and then I'll pull all the meat off and just save the bones. So I save them in my refrigerator in these little Ziploc bags. So I'm gonna go ahead and just dump this in there with the chicken feet. And what these bones do is just the same thing, adding bones, hence bone broth, just makes it more of a nutrient-dense type of broth. So I don't just like to only add the chicken feet. The chicken feet is actually not necessary, so you can, if you don't find chicken feet, you can just go ahead and add all the bones that you want in it. Next step, we are going to start adding these herbs. So this is shiitake mushrooms. You can use fresh mushrooms if you want, but I like to get them dried, and so I'm going to go ahead and just pour these in. So this is about 4 or 5 of them. And then I have some, just some carrot sticks. Doesn't really matter because this is all going to just kind of blend together anyway. So when this is done, this is like these carrot sticks are going to be total mush. So you can just like coarsely chop everything. Nothing needs to be perfect or diced or anything like that. So I used about 4 celery stalks, and I just cut them to the side just so that they can fit into the Instant Pot container. And then I just have 1 onion, and I'm just gonna throw that in. And then I have 1 piece of ginger, and so ginger definitely helps out with inflammation, and this is one of the reasons why I love the Nom Nom Paleo Bone Broth recipe, because I love that she adds ginger. You can also add turmeric, like fresh turmeric or even turmeric powder, but just make sure that you add pepper, because you can't absorb turmeric, all the benefits of it, unless there's a pepper, which is kind of like, it's like a cousin that needs to go and hang out with it in order for you to get all the benefits. So I didn't really peel the skin off, because once again, this is just all gonna be ooey and gooey, and I'm gonna drain everything in the end anyway. So I'm just gonna add that ginger in there. And then I have some herbs from my garden. This is optional, you don't have to do, but I just have some fresh oregano, I have some rosemary, 2 sprigs, and then I have some thyme, and then I have a little bit more oregano. So I'm just gonna throw that in on top as well. So everything is just kind of squished all in there. And then now it's time for the seasonings. So I don't measure, I just kind of pour. I'm one of those kind of cooks, but I would say use about maybe 1 to 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. And what this is gonna do is gonna help break down the bones because of the acidity in the apple cider vinegar. So what that's gonna do is just break down the bones and kind of pull whatever it needs to get out of the bones, like all the nutrients and all the good stuff, into the broth. So this is something that's really good to add into it, and it gives it a little tang as well. And then we're gonna go ahead and add this red boat fish sauce, which is Nom Nom Paleo's like umami type of flavor. So she always adds this. It does add a little different kick to different recipes, and so I do like to add it into my bone broth because it just gives it like a little, just a different kind of spice taste, but in a good way. And so I'm just gonna do about a tablespoon of this fish sauce. I have half a tablespoon right here, so I'll do 2 of these. But if you don't like this, sounds too funky for you, or you can't find this ingredient, that is totally fine. I get mine off Amazon. I'm also a Thrive Market member, so I order mine there, which is really cheap if you order it from Thrive. And then let me rinse out this really quick. So I'm going to go ahead and add some garlic. So I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of garlic. I like garlic, but if you're not a big fan of garlic, you don't need to. If you don't have this minced garlic, just maybe add about 3 cloves of garlic. Full cloves, you don't need to chop them. And then I'm gonna add some pink Himalayan salt. So I'm just gonna turn this a couple times. But if you're a measurer, I would say maybe half a tablespoon of salt would be pretty good. Sometimes I don't even salt it because if I'm going to be using it in other recipes that, you know, let's say I'm going to make like a tortilla soup with it, or some type of soup with this broth, or even just throw it in with like another recipe, I don't want this to have salt in it because then I have to factor it into that recipe. So sometimes making it salt-free is pretty good, but for me, I know I'm just going to drink this like out of a nice cup, so it's going to be fine just like that. And then I'm going to pour some black pepper. Again, I don't measure, I just pour. So you kind of know your taste buds. You know if you like a lot of pepper, a little bit of pepper. So basically that's kind of how you make it. I think I might add just a little bit more salt. And I'm going to go ahead and throw this all in the Instapot, and I'll come around and I'll show you how this looks. So let me give you a nice shot of this, what it looks like. So here we go. Here's the bones. The chicken feet are somewhere under there. There's the herbs, there's the mushrooms, that's the onions, and so there's the celery and carrots are in there swarming around somewhere. And so I'm basically done, and I'm just gonna put this inside my Instapot, and then I'm gonna show you my settings, so stay tuned. So here I have everything in my Instapot. I put my lid on. Make sure you have your valve closed back there on the sealed function. And then what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna press manual. And this is a little trick that I learned. So it automatically goes to 30. Well, I want the highest setting because I want my bone broth to be cooking for as long as it possibly can to get everything out of those bones. So instead I'm gonna go backwards instead of going up. The highest setting that Instapot has is 120 minutes. So that's basically what we're gonna be cooking at. And I'm just gonna let it sit in there. What it's gonna do is it's gonna kind of warm up, and it's gonna go to the on function. Once it's done kind of warming up and getting all good and nice and ready, then it's gonna start going back to the 120 and it will beep. So if you're familiar with the Instapot or you're not familiar, when you hear that beep, that's basically when the pressure starts to happen, and that's when the counting of the cooking time starts to happen. So once this pot's ready, then this will switch on to 120, which is what I set it for, and it's on high pressure in the manual function, and it's gonna count backwards. So once it goes down to 0, it's gonna be all done. And I do like the Instapot because I like the keep warm function. So I'm gonna be leaving today and like going on with my merry, lovely day with my little toddler in tow, and just go run all my errands, do my thing, and I'm gonna come back and it's probably gonna be already done, and it's just gonna transfer to this keep warm function, which is amazing because I don't have to worry about it like, you know, getting cold and going bad or anything like that. And so pretty much I'm done with this portion, and so I'm gonna let this cook. So stay tuned. I'm gonna show you what this looks like once it's all done, and this nice, lovely, goodness, nutrient dense broth. So stay tuned and see you in a bit. So I wanted to show you guys basically once the bone broth is all done, I wanted to spare you the process of going through the straining mechanism. But what I basically do is once the bone broth is done, I let it cool down in Instapot, and then I get my strainer and I basically just kind of strain out whatever bones that are in there and vegetables and so on. So this is pretty much what is left. So this was everything that I made in the Instapot. These are the 2 that I put in the freezer and I let them freeze, and I kind of like will pull one out, let it defrost in the refrigerator once I run through this batch. This basically is not frozen, so see, you can see it little jiggly wiggly. So that's jiggling, and that is basically collagen, and that's good. So when your bone broth jiggles like this, that means that there's a lot of collagen goodness in here and that it's really good, and you're gonna get a lot of benefits from it. And if it's soupy, that's still fine, but you want it to get basically to where it can be like a jello form. And when I scoop it out of here, it kind of comes out looking like a jello. And so I had this left over, so I just put this inside a mason jar. So these 2 are gonna hang out in my refrigerator, and I'm gonna sip on these. I'll probably use these maybe for some soups or something. I have an awesome Italian wedding egg drop kale soup that I made, and so I love using the bone broth for that. But yeah, so this is pretty much it. So like later on, I'll just heat this up and I'll, you know, drink it from here. But I like to, like I said, freeze a few of them so that way I don't have to worry about them going bad. And I can just honestly, when it thaws out, I can just scoop out whatever that I need. And sometimes you'll see like this white film on top. Depends on how much fat you pull from the bones, but you can just scrape that off and save that in a container because it's also really good, nourishing, healthy, high quality fat from the chicken. So it's called tallow. So pretty much you can just save that and you can like fry with it. It's easy and safe to cook in the oven with, so it's really good fat. So you want to save that. It almost looks like lard, so you're gonna want to save that and cook with it. And so yeah, I just wanted to show you guys everything, what it looks like and what I'm doing, and this is it. So this is what your bone broth will look like once you're done with it in the Instapot. And so this makes about, I want to say these are let's see if it says the cup size on these. 75 millimeters or 750 millimeters, which I'm not good, but I want to say there's about three cups in here. So pretty much that's what you're gonna get when you cook it in Instapot. So thanks for watching. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. Please feel free to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out my wellness blog at www.littlewellnesscorner.com. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me or comment below, and I'll definitely comment back to you. And yeah, so just basically try this recipe, let me know how you like it, and have fun making your Instapot bone broth. Take care, talk to you soon. Ciao.